All right, very quick podcast slash video today to talk about a piece of music that, at the time of recording this podcast, I'm due to release, and this is this coming Friday in 3 days, and it's a piece called Riesling de la vallée de Yakima. That's a French title. Essentially, it means Riesling from the valley of Yakima, the Yakima Valley that's in what you guys call in the US Pacific Northwest, right? Washington State. Um, it's a valley that's well known for producing wine, um, just like a lot of the west coast of the United States, from California to Washington. And I'm talking about the States, obviously. Um, so it's a piece. There's a few things about this piece. So, as you know, for whoever has been following me for long enough, um, there's probably two things in my life: wine and music, and everything else. And this is artistically speaking, because winemaking is an art. Yes, indeed. Um, so, wine, music, plenty of other things, but this takes a lot of my time. And you've seen it with my project called Spiritual, which is a bit of a journalistic project on wine, spirits, beer. You see me writing a lot of it, commenting about what I've had to drink, what I've tasted, what I've liked. You've seen me doing wine pairings, wine and music pairings. This is taking a bottle of wine and finding which music which suit it, whether if it looks like it or whether just for the purpose of enjoying the music and the wine together. So you've seen me do a lot of those sort of projects, and it was bound to arrive. Eventually, I would write some music to describe wine. So this is a project that I'm starting this year in 2025. The project will be called in French, and this is just to respect the tradition that a lot of wine grapes, as we know them, are originally French. So although I won't be looking at French wines specifically, I will be using French names, and I'm borrowing the structure of this project on Olivier Messiaen's catalog of bird songs. Funny enough, bird songs is also something I'm looking at this year, but completely unrelated to that. So he's done a catalog where he would describe bird songs. I believe it's been done for piano. It's absolutely beautiful. So this is the structure I want to approach. I want to do a catalog of what we call in French cépages. And these are the wine grapes. So the idea is to try to cover as many grapes as I can and to try to translate them in music the way I perceive them. So in order for this exercise to be almost limitless, I've decided not to limit myself to a specific wine grape, a specific cépage. However, what I've approached is focusing on a particular wine grape from a particular place. So very often it comes from a bottle I've had, and this prompts the creativity. So this particular bottle that I've tried was from the Washington State and from the valley of Yakima, hence why I'm focusing on this one. So that's the project in general. So the first piece is coming out this Friday. It's a piece for solo piano, and it intends at sort of portraying what the wine grape is. So talking about this wine grape, so Riesling is a grape that is often the favorite of sommelier, and there's a reason for that. It's because it's very versatile, and it's also very vast in the aromas, the flavors, profiles it has. So you can pretty much have Riesling with not pretty much anything, but many, many things. And just like perhaps the grape that has number one position in this capability being Chardonnay, it's a wine grape that you can really have fun with. And the reason it's somebody's favorite is that very often when people ask for recommendations, this is a wine grape that surprises. First of all, because many thinks that it's a wine grape that is sweet, but that's not the case. It can be vinified in a sweet way or in a dry way, and it's very rich. So you have this wine grape variety in Europe, in Central Europe. You have it in France, in Germany, in Austria, all around that Rhine valley. You also have it in the New World. You have it in Australia, and you have it in the US on the West Coast. So I specifically decided not to take the grape for this particular piece from where it originated. And this is because I wanted to surprise myself as well and try to break away from the patterns I would have in my head in terms of how I would build the music. Because you see, wine and music are actually very similar in the way they function. And in order to understand wine and or music, you go through a particular training, an ear training or a palate training. And they're very, very similar. So what you would do is you try to recognize sounds or recognize aromas through reference points. And by drinking and listening, eventually you develop your ear and your palate well enough so that you recognize those aromas yourself. So as I've studied wine, which I've studied after I've studied music, not to the same level, but to a level where I can understand the similarities between both, I've tried to connect these while creating music. So as I'm drinking this particular wine and I'm thinking of Riesling, I keep in mind this versatility and this complexity. There's a lot of layers in Riesling. There's, a vivid, lively aspect that you have at first, and then there's lots of sort of tropical flavors. There's some sort of nut and unexpected sort of flowery aromas. You have all those sort of things that you don't expect at first with a wine that's sort of vibrant and very approachable. So I wanted the music to be the same way, to be a piece of music that's both very easy to sort of digest, but also with a bit of interest harmonically and some sort of surprises and surprising colors. Ideally, you'd want to listen to the music whilst you enjoy the wine. I will put a reference the day I share that music, perhaps, to that particular bottle of wine that I had. It's from something called winery called Birch something, which I can remember, Lone Birch maybe, something like this. I'll put a link. I've reached out to them, but they didn't seem interested into being connected to this project. So regardless of this, I've still released the music and I'll still share which one it is if you wanted to push the exercise and try to listen to the music whilst having the wine. It's really how I've done it, and it's an exercise I love to do. I'll keep going like this for a little bit, for a couple of months with this project, maybe years. It's a very similar project to my Études Populaires that I've released last year, that I've completed last year. That was a project started in 2021 and that I've eventually completed in 2024. And this was through the release of those studies almost month after month, although I was a bit delayed. So it took me more than 16 months, which was the initial approach. So it'll be the same for this one. Given the fact it's a catalog / dictionary, it can be endless. So I think when I'll be bored with the exercise, I'll stop. It's also for piano at the time being. It might evolve into something else, but like I said, I want to put that structure on a similar level to Messiaen's birdsong catalog. So that's it. It's called Riesling de la vallée de Yakima. Riesling de la vallée de Yakima, to pronounce this properly. It releases on Friday, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. I'd love to see if there's anyone here who enjoys wines and who finds similarities between this piece of music and perhaps the Riesling grape. I think I'll do the exercise a bit later as well. Once I've made a bit of a progress with the project, maybe I'll try to describe another wine, but the same grape, to see if I can find the differences. Perhaps from the old world. Like I said, this one is from the new world, which is often seen as North America, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand. So these countries are considered the new world, and Europe, mostly is considered the old world. So maybe I'll have a look at Riesling produced in the old world to see what I can get out of it and if there are any differences between both. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this quick little chat on wine and music, pairing and creating. Maybe I'll do a podcast on being a bit more precise and providing a bit more details on similarities between wine and music, at least to my opinion. But for the time being, that's it. I hope you enjoyed the piece. I think that I'll release the podcast after I've released the song. So the piece, sorry, it's not a song, very important. A song needs to have words and someone singing to be a song. I hear it so often. I'm sidetracking, but so often I hear artists talking about instrumental pieces as songs. They are not songs. You need words to them. You need lyrics. So my piece will release on Friday. So you'll probably listen to that podcast once it's released. So hopefully you'll run to listen to the music after you've listened to that podcast. And if you didn't run, then you can still walk. But most important is that you listen to the music and you see how you feel towards it. And if you feel that it's describing wine one way or another. And I will put a last disclaimer to that video. You will hear a repeated note throughout the piece. This is in no way intended to be a drop of liquids. I know a lot might think that I will be using this device to sort of repeated note on the piano to do the drop that falls, but this is definitely not this. It just came out like this. I wanted to have this sort of pivot note so I could move the harmonies around it. So this was my musical device. It wasn't trying to depict something physical about the wine. What I'm trying to do really is to look at the complexity of the aromas and the flavors and the structure of the wine, and I'm trying to translate this in a musical way. Thanks very much for listening. I hope that all makes sense. Subscribe to the podcast. There's quite a few episodes now, so hopefully you'll listen to the rest as well, and I'll see you next time.